Hi, I'm Alexander Maxim from Ethiopian IO. Today we will continue our series about PHP. We will check the array chunk, array combine, array count values, and array product methods. But firstly, to understand what I mean by the term method function for each for loop, echo, printr, etc., you must have a knowledge about PHP to understand this part. Let's start. Firstly, we will start with the array chunk method. But firstly, what's the array chunk method? This method divides the array into smaller arrays, each with a number of elements equals to the size parameter value. The last small array may contain fewer elements than the size parameter value. It has three parameters. The first is the array. The second is the size, which is the size of each partial array is cut from the original array. And the third parameter is the previous key. By default, the value is false. It means the indexes in the array in the new array or in the small array will start from 0. If you change this value to true, the array will keep the keys in the resulting small arrays. This method returns a multi-dimensional array. Starting at 0, each dimension of the array contains a number of elements equal to the value of the size parameter. This method causes an error of type a warning if the size operand is smaller than 1, and the method will return null in that case. Let's take an example to understand how it works. And to do that, we will use the echo method to print a hidden or a title array chunk like that. I will add a comment indexed array. I will now create an indexed array which is team I. It's an array. We have 5 persons, so we have 5 persons in our team, and I want firstly to print these elements using the printr method, and I will pass team I as parameter. Let's reload and see. So we have person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4, and person 5. Now I want to use the array chunk method to divide this array into small arrays. Each array contains 2 persons. So I will create groups for my team. And to do that, I need firstly to create an array, group I for example, and I will use array chunk method. So we have 3 parameters. Here we have the input or the array. I will pass team I the size which is the size of each new array. So I will use the size 2, and we have the third parameter true or false. By default the value is false. Let's firstly take this example and use the printr method again. Printr method. I will pass group I as parameter, and let's see the result. So we have a multi-dimensional array. Inside we have an array. In this array we have person 1, person 2, and the second array we have person 3, person 4, and the last array we have person 5. And in each array the indexes start with 0 here. And now let's use another example for an associative array to understand what's the difference between true and false in the third parameter. Let's add a comment. It's an array of persons. So in the team A array we have an associative array. We have the key person 1, and the value of this key is Alexander. The key is person 2 and the value is Alex, etc. Each person identified by his name. Let's now use the print R again to print our new team A array. Let's reload and see. And we have person 1 Alexander, person 2 Alex, person 3 John, person 4 Arden, and person 5 Mike. Let's now copy this line and paste the same here. We have group A. We will use the array chunk method and we will pass team A like that. And let's reload and see. But firstly, we need to use print R, and we will pass group A as parameter. And we have a multi-dimensional array. Each array has 2 persons, but here we have the values and the keys is 0 1 0 1 0. I want to get the original key for each value, and to do that we need to change the value of the third parameter to true. Let's reload and see. So we have person 1 is Alexander, person 2 is Alex, person 3 is John, person 4 Arden, and person 5 is Mike. This is the array chunk. Let's now explain how it works. So we have an array of 5 persons like that. So it's an array and I want to use the array chunk method. I will pass the array and the size as parameter. Great. And now I want to use the size equal to 2. The size now is equal to 2. The array chunk method will firstly test if this array here, if this array is empty, there is no elements in this array. It will return a warning error. If there is elements, it will firstly create a new array, new small array, and copy this element from here and paste it in the new array. And now the length of this array is 1 because there is 1 element and it's less than the size, which is 2. So we need another value here. It will return to the array and test if there is other elements. If there is another element, we'll copy this element and paste it here. And this is the second element. And now the length of this array is 2 and the size is 2, and they're equals. It will test again if there is elements in our array. If there is no element, it will just return this array. If there is elements, it will create a new array and copy this element and paste it in the new array. And always it will test the size. If the length of this array is less than the size, it will return again. If there is other elements, it will copy this element and paste it here. And now we have 2 small arrays here. We have 2 small arrays. It will test again by the array chunk method. If there is another element in our array, there is this element here, so it will create a new array. and it will get this value and paste it here. And now we have three arrays. The size always bigger than the length of this array. It will return to the array, but there is no other element, so it will return this array here. It will return this multi-dimensional array because each one of these elements is another array. This is the array chunk. If the third parameter here is true, it will get the key and the value of each element here in the array. So we have this array, we have the key and the value. It will get the key and also it will get the value of this key here, and it will return the same result. Great. And after that we have another method, which is the array combine method. What's the array combine method? The method creates a new array by using the values of the array passed through the keys parameter as keys, and using the values of the array passed through the parameter values as values associated with these keys. It has two parameters. The first is the keys, which is an array of keys that this function use. Any value that is not accepted as a key will be converted to a text string, and the second parameter is the values, which is another array contains the values that you will use. The method returns a new array resulting from merging the key and value arrays, and return false if the number of elements in the two arrays is uneven. The method causes a warning error if the number of elements in the value and key array is not equal. Let's take an example to understand the array key. To generate a multi or an associative array, let's copy this title and paste here. So we have array combine method. Inside I will define an languages key array. It's an array, and we have, so in the languages key array we have en, fr, es. It's an indexed array. I will use languages, or I will create languages values array, which is an array, and we have, so we have three values: English, French, Spanish. I want to combine between the languages key and languages value to generate an associative array, and these values will be keys, and these values will be values for the associative array. And for that I want to create a new array and use the array combine method to, and we have two parameters, the keys values. I will use the languages key as, or languages keys here as the first parameter, and the languages value or values as the second parameter. Let's use print r and pass the languages as parameter to print our array. And this is the array combine. We have en is the key of the English value, fr is the key of French, es is the key of the Spanish language. Let's see how it works. So we have two arrays, the keys and the values. We have first key, second key, the third key, and the first value, second value, the third value. The array combine method will take this array and make it here, and we'll take this array and make it here. So it will get, or the array combine will create a new array, a new associative array with the key and value like that, and it will firstly get this element and make it here, and get the value from the second array and make it here. The same thing, it will test if there is other elements. It will get the second element here, second key, and if there is other element in the values array, it will get it. If there is no element, it will return false, or it will return an error. If there is an element, it will copy and paste this element here, and it will get the last key and the last value, and for that it will return this array, which is an associative array. And like that, the array combine will combine between the first array and the second array to generate an associative array with keys and values. And after the array combine method, we have the array count values method. What's the array count values method? This function creates a new array that contains the values in the array passed by the array as key, and the frequency of each value in the array as values associated with those keys. The method returns a new array of values in the passed array, and each value is associated with how many times it's repeated in the array. It will generate a warning error for each element in the array, not a string or an integer. Let's take an example to understand what's the array count values. So let's copy this title and we will change it to array count values method. And we have an array votes, for example. It's an array, so we have person 1. So we have an array of votes. We have person 1. This value, or the person 1, has appeared 4 times in this array. Person 2 4 times also. Person 3 3 times. Person 5 2 times, and person 4 1 time. Let's use the print R to see the result of our array. So we have person 1, person 1, person 1 here, and also person 1. The array count values will count how many times the value or each value has appeared in or has repeated in our votes array. Let's use it. I will use it directly by the array count values method. I will pass the votes as parameter. Let's reload and see our page. So person 1 has appeared 4 times, person 2 4 also, person 3 3, person 5 2, and person 4 1. How this method works? So we have an array and we have this array. We have the person with the black color, and we have the green, the red, the blue, etc. How the array count values works? It will firstly get this element and create a new array because it returns an array. it will get this element and paste it here. Then it will firstly get the value 1 for this element. It will check if there is other elements in the array. So we have other elements. It will check if this element here equal to the elements exists here in this array. They are not equal. It will get this element and paste it here. It will give it equals to 1 because it appears just one time. It will test again. We have the yellow color. If the yellow color equals to these two values, no, so it will get this value here. And here it will test if this element here is equals to one of these elements in the array, so it equals to the first, to the first element. It will change the 1 and use +1 for this element here, and etc. to the last element. Then it will return these values for each element. So it will get this value as a key like that, and this results here as a value, and this is the array count values method. After the array count values method, we have another method which is the array product method. What's the array product method? This method returns the value of multiplying the values of the array elements. It has the array as parameter and it will return the product as an integer or float. Let's take an example to understand how it works. So we have the array product. We'll create a number array like that. It's an array. It has just two elements, 2 and 3. I will use the printr to print the array product. I will pass number as parameter. Let's reload and see for its echo. So we have 6. It's not an array, it returns a value. So I will use the echo method. We have 6, or let's see here, the result is, and here we have the value of the array product. The result is 6. So if I change 3 to 4, so the result will be 8. The result is 8. How this method works? So if we have for example 3, 2 multiplying by 4 and 3, let's see, and the result is 24. 2 multiplying by 4 is 8, and 8 multiplying, or the result of these two numbers multiplying by 3, 8, it will be 24. Let's see how it works. So we have an array and we have 2, after that we have 4, and we have 3. The array product will get this array as parameter, and it will firstly get this value 2, and if there is other elements in the array, it will get the first element here and multiplying it by the first value, and the result will be 8. It will get this value 8, and it will check if there is other elements. Yeah, we have another element. It will multiplying the result by this element, so 8 multiplying by 3, and the result is 24, and it will return this value, and it will check if there is other elements. We have no other element will return this value to the client, and this is the array product method. Today we have learned the array chunk to divide the array combine to combine between the keys and the values, the array count values to count how many times this value has repeated in the array, and the array product to multiply values in the array.